So it's been a couple of weeks since the shooting that happened in Florida, the Parkland shooting. And earlier today, we actually just had two shootings at different schools. So we had one in at the campus in CMU, and also shots fired at the situation in one of the Dallas schools. So, look, Congress... Look, American people are asking for Congress to actually do something about shootings. In fact, I've got some polls here. There's a CNN poll that said over 70% of the American people back stricter gun laws. Okay, not only that, but they actually want Congress to take action. A majority of Americans, according to a new Marist poll, say that, look, their views, politicians' views on gun control and on gun ownership will have a big impact on the upcoming midterms. More than 8 in 10 Americans, 85%, said a candidate's view on gun control will affect their vote, including 59% who said such positions would be a major factor in their vote. So look, Americans are pretty much tuned in to this issue. This is a really important issue, especially after all of these mass shootings. Now, in response to this, what is the Senate going to do under Republican leader Mitch McConnell? Nothing. In fact, today, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell announced that the Senate will now turn to deregulating the banks next week. Now, McConnell told reporters in the Capitol as senators were casting their final votes of the week, saying, quote, "We'd love to do that at some point. I'm hoping there is a way forward." Asked if there would be a way forward on guns, McConnell replied, "No, we're going to go with the Crapo bill next week." Now, what's that? Well, he was referring to Senate Banking Committee Chairman Mike Crapo. Now, Crapo is a Republican, and I have a lot of fun saying his name. He's a pile of Crapo, or at least his bill is a pile of Crapo. And he has authored a measure to make changes to the Dodd-Frank banking law. Now, according to the New Republic, this bill, which would be a massive deregulatory bill, proposes a major rollback of the 2010 Dodd-Frank Act. Now, this is called, get this, the Economic Growth, Regulatory Relief, and Consumer Protection Act. I think at least it's 1 out of 3. And for a Republican, 1 out of 3 ain't bad. Regulatory relief, absolutely for sure. Consumer protection, not so much. In fact, the effect that it would have would likely be to the detriment of consumers. Now, they write in the New Republic, quote, "Although there are several elements to the bill, the most eye-popping provision is a significant shift in which banks are considered systemically important, and thus subjected to greater oversight and tighter rules. Currently, banks with $50 billion in assets fall into that category. The proposal would move the threshold to $250 billion, a 500% jump that would erase the mandate of enhanced scrutiny for 25 of the 38 largest banks in the country." So what happened? This Dodd-Frank, of course, is a response to the 2008 financial crisis, on which we did not watch these banks. These banks, as I said, if you have $50 billion in assets, that is actually a lot of money. A lot of the major banks that failed in 2008 had that, or had around that threshold. That's why Dodd-Frank said, okay, we're going to set our threshold here for systemically important. This is all part of too big to fail. We're going to set that to that limit so we can watch these banks and make sure that they don't set themselves up to crash and fail, just like they did in 2008. Well, now Republicans are like, well, we're gonna have to deregulate these banks because we don't want this oversight. We want to continue to make more and more risky loans. We want to play the Wall Street casino and make sure that our shareholders make more and more money. And that's exactly what's going on. When you take away that enhanced scrutiny for, as I said, 25 of the 38 largest banks, then you set up the conditions for another financial crisis. That is the problem here. Okay, so that's what this bill does. Now, back to the whole point about gun control. Now, as I said, gun control is a really, really big issue in this country. There's a lot of people who care deeply about it on both sides, obviously, and the Senate has basically admitted we don't care. What we're going to do instead of talking about this really important issue and having debates on what, if not, any gun control laws that we can actually pass that have massive majority support. Most of the things that people are putting forward, and these are the Parkland survivors, things like, of course, banning bump stocks, which is incredibly popular. 80% of Americans, I believe, or in at least the high 70s percent of Americans actually do agree with banning high-capacity magazines, raising the age of, being able to buy a gun to 21 years old. Things like that are incredibly popular with the American people. I did some polls on that yesterday. But what is our Congress doing? They're deregulating the banks. They don't care about the will of the American people. In a real democracy or a representative republic, the people should be represented. This should be an issue that they would take up, but they don't represent us anymore. They represent the banks. That's why they're taking up this Crapo bill, this deregulation bill, instead of actually taking up an issue that, millions of Americans are basically really galvanized on actually doing something about. They don't care about you. They care about their donors. They serve their donors. Most of the people in the Senate, Republicans and Democrats included, take money from the financial industry. And again, this Crapo bill, this is going to be bipartisan. There are Democrats, corporate Democrats, that are like, yes, absolutely, let's deregulate the banks. Because that's actually what we really care about. That's what our donors want. Our donors don't care about gun control. And look, some of our donors, Republican side, a lot of the people on the Republican side get paid by the NRA. So of course they're not going to bring this up. And if they do, look, here's my prediction. So they will eventually bring some pieces of gun control to the Senate. But they'll only do so when the fervor for gun control measures has died down. Right now, we're at a historic high. 70% of the American people want gun control. This is the highest that it's been since 1993. They're going to wait until support dies back down, if that's ever going to happen, because as I see it, we're going to continue to have more and more mass shootings and more shootings overall, and they're going to continue to be covered. So, but look, that's what they're going to do. They're going to try and wait for a time where they can put this up and then quietly vote it down. They want to get back to business as usual. And in the meantime, they're going to do all that they can to deregulate industry. That's who they, because again, that's who they work for. That's who they serve. And they're not representing you. And that's exactly why we need to get money out of politics. This whole sickness that we have in the government of us actually not doing anything about gun control and having our politicians continue to deregulate industries like the financial industry that caused the 2008 financial crisis. All that is caused by the sickness of money in politics. We have got to get the money out so that we can actually get representatives that represent us. Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more like this, please hit the subscribe button below. And if you want to support truly independent progressive media, please consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/TYTNation.